like I said, I had this peace when all of that was going through that I would never, when it finally broke, it was like a dam breaking. And I
Mm,
remember feeling like this peace, like almost like God was saying, you'll never have to worry about money again.
yeah.
And ever since then, I've worried, but that's only been because, if my bank account would ever dip back below six figures, that's when I feel like that's, if
Yeah,
it ever
yeah.
does, that's when you get that, like, you know what I
Yep.
mean? But you like,
Mhm. But you're still
it's,
okay.
yeah, it's a
Yeah.
testament to like how far you've actually come. Like when
Yep.
you realize when it does dip that low, like, what am I worried about?
Tell us a little about yourself, man.
Sure. Yeah. I'm Scott Shelton. I'm in real estate, and so I'm located in Wilmington, North Carolina, and that's kind of where I got my foot in the door. I was selling copiers, and back in about 2018, I started feeling like I was being called to get into real estate. I didn't know really what
Mm.
capacity. I'd never heard of wholesaling. At the time, I had no idea. I couldn't even tell you what a mortgage was, how it worked, or anything like that. Obviously, I'd heard the term. You hear those. It's ubiquitous. But so it was July of that year, and I had signed up to get my real estate license with a local community college.
Okay.
And I'm a very impatient person. That's just my personality type. I like to make things happen quickly. I like to have some control. Yeah.
Same way, man. Same
You know
way.
what I'm talking about. It's most entrepreneurs. So
Yep.
I started looking around. I was like, maybe I could get it sooner. Maybe I don't have to wait till the end of the year to get licensed and take the test and all that. So I started just looking around, and I called the first three that popped up in Google. And I asked the lady, she said, the next class starts July 9th at 6 o'clock. And in my head, I'm thinking, okay, I've got a couple of days to get everything ready. You start to try to, plan everything. Well, I looked at my phone, and it was July the 9th, and it was like 4:30. So it started in an hour and a half. So I said,
Wow.
can I show up tonight with a check? She was like, absolutely. So I rolled up, I'm in like my suit, my tie from selling copiers and everything. I got my real estate license, and then we had a major hurricane hit
Wow.
right after. So I got in, and I started working as a buyer's agent, and
Okay.
just absolutely hated my life. The worst year of my life. Yeah.
Mine too.
The
Mine too, man.
yeah.
I'll tell you a little story. Go ahead.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So I got my license in 2017 as a real estate
Yeah.
agent here in New Jersey.
Yeah.
And I'm really good friends with the team lead, and he's phenomenal, man. He crushes his business, right? And I trusted him that he would teach me, and he taught me a lot. But when the market changed, when everybody was going after sellers, he realized no one's going after buyers. So he pivoted
Yeah.
and went after all the buyers and made a killing. So
Oh yeah.
when I joined the team, we were buyer oriented. Oh my God, man. I have never spent so much time. I did two deals at the same time. One deal, I spent 96 hours on a pre-approval for a buyer, 330,000. Made my commission was $3,300. Same time I started looking at investments. 5 hours, $3,200. And I said, yeah, I'm not doing this anymore. And
Efficiency.
I went straight into real estate, like investments, and I've just focused there. Like only time I do my real retail stuff, my license is if I'm listing my own flips or a
Yes.
family or friend needs some help. Even then, I just like, yo, man, here's another
rather,
agent.
yeah.
Go work. Yeah, I just hand it off, even with family and
Yeah.
friends. I trust this agent. They're gonna take care of you. Here you go. Yeah, man,
Exactly.
I'm with you, bro. I hated that shit.
Hated and that was the same. See, I mean, you were blessed. You had the $330,000 houses. I was driving an hour away to Atkinson, North Carolina.
Wow.
Population 1,500, and then you're looking at $70,000 and $80,000 houses. And so by the time team splits and everything kick in, I'm lucky if I make $1,000, if that. So it was just, I was like, struggling. But the important thing is, it taught me you pay your dues basically when you get into real estate, especially when you're first starting out. But I connected there was a lot of wholesalers who started coming into North Carolina, and kind of, I guess you could say ambulance chasers. They come in after a storm looking for flooded properties. And so I started connecting with this guy out of Florida, and we met up, and he had like 5 properties. And that was kind of my foot in the door, really, looking for wholesalers, meeting wholesalers, and kind of my first introduction to that off-market world. So I got my first ever client from a buddy of mine I'd met on Bigger Pockets. He runs an investor group out in California. He was like, I got this guy. He wants to, I want to, pair him up with you, let him see if he can get some investment properties out there. So I found his first ever property. It was 2 hours away in Fayetteville, North Carolina. And we identified an off-market, well, it was for sale by owner. And so I found the buyer, found the property, and connected those two. And he said, as soon as we closed it, he was like, okay, let's get another one. And I was like, perfect. So I started looking in, how can I get more investment properties for these people? And then the wholesaling thing came up again. And I got connected with a guy. His name was Adrian Nez. I don't know. Have you heard that name?
No.
So are you familiar with Carrot?
Yes.
Yeah. So he was like their poster child. If you Google him, he was like the guy who would, if you've seen Flip or Flop on HGTV, he would help find, they were clients of his. He would help them find properties for the show. And I was blessed to connect with him, man. I kid you not. I spent 6 months trying to get a meeting with this dude.
Wow.
And for 6 months, I'm like, hey, let's sit down. Let me see. I've got buyers. Let's see how we could work together. And so that first year, man, it was a struggle. I got to a point where, so my wife stays at home with our kids, and I got to a point where right after my son had been born, we had, I want to say it was less than $400 in our bank account. And I had nothing going. And, we had our rent due the next week. And I had a buddy who had a wholesale deal.
Okay. And
he needed a buyer for it. I made a couple posts on Facebook, found a buyer for it. I made $3,000 off of that deal, but that was a life changer for me, man. Yeah. That was, all the nights where you break down, you're like, Lord, how am I gonna do this? What am I supposed to do? And then, I had this piece that came over. It was like, you'll never have to worry about money again. And from that time, I just started hustling, busting my butt. I connected with a bunch of buyers. I connected with, people who had wholesale properties that they were trying to move, because I realized there's a disconnect between wholesalers posting on Facebook for their properties and actual cash buyers. Like the most active people, by and large, many of them aren't on Facebook. And so I would find them and call them and say, hey, look, I get off market deals pretty regularly. Are you still looking to buy? Are you looking for, and I'd network with them and just start connecting with them. And, my first successful year in real estate, I made 6 figures just JVing.
Wow.
Just JVing, connecting deals. And,
so you weren't even marketing, so to say. You were just taking already existing deals that people had locked up that were struggling to find the end buyer. You just became the bridge for the two and worked and obviously made 6 figures doing it that way, right?
100%. Yeah.
Wow, man. That's phenomenal, bro. There's always a room for everybody to eat, man. And this is what people just think you got to go get your own deals and that's the only way. And people are crooked. Look, man, you're going to get some bad apples, right? In the bunch, but don't let that deter you from doing exactly what Scott's been doing, man. He crushed it, right? How much did you market? 0?
I didn't spend any. I had 0 spend. And
so people don't tell me I don't have money to do real estate. Scott, you would say?
Yeah, it's 100% possible. No money involved.
Exactly.
Yeah. Exactly. I'll tell you this. I've got a buddy who he was in prison twice. And he got out of prison and he realized I need to get my life together. And so he started, he worked in construction for a little while, and he was in his mid to late 30s and he knew he wasn't going to be able to do it for forever. And so he started doing some research, YouTube University, and he found out about wholesaling. So he would get in his 1998 Buick LaCrosse, like the dark burgundy Buick LaCrosse. And he would take a notepad and he would drive around and drive for dollars, write every single thing down, use those free, smart background checks, all those free websites, find the homeowners and start connecting deals. Now he does the same driving for dollars, but it's in a newer Mercedes Benz. No, it's 100%, no money involved. Now, if you want to have the most success, I would recommend, now we spend some on marketing. But that's where you're going to find the best deals.
Yeah, man. So when you were starting out, so you mentioned Bigger Pockets. Was that an outlet for you where you got a lot of education and building your foundations on gaining that information as to what steps to take?
I say this, Bigger Pockets is really good for retail investment advice.
Okay.
Where I feel like I learned the most from the Real Estate Disruptors podcast, Steve Trang.
Yeah.
A lot of the people like Leon Johnson, some of the creative finance stuff, man, I've been able to do flips where we've literally put nothing in because of some of the techniques that I've been through there. So it's been, mostly from people who are active in this, hearing from them versus, not that you can't get good information on Bigger Pockets, but there's, definitely you're going to get more information from actually having the conversations and from networking and from hearing who people who have been where you are before, but are at that next level.
So as you're listening to Steve Trang, right? Steve, I know Steve, his podcast is phenomenal.
Yeah.
There's a lot of information being shared, right? How do you,
100%.
Right? And it's easy when a lot of information is being shared to get that shiny object syndrome.
Oh, 100%.
How have you taken this information and positioned yourself to take action? Like, would you take one piece of information and then say, hey, I'm going to just do this? Like, because one of the things that I want to help folks with as they're listening to this is what is the one thing that they can do, right, to kind of get the next one foot in front of the other?
Sure, man. And that's the thing when you come in, like the first year, it was so hard for me because I have to know everything to be able to figure out what to do best. And so I was just trying to learn and grasp, but also provide for my family. And that was the hard part. You've got to also kind of take action. And then, for the past couple of years, I was really just trying to do everything. I've flipped, I've done private lending, I've done brokering private lending, we've done wholesale, we've done multifamily with like trailer parks.
Wow.
Creative finance, rentals, and all of that jazz. And what I realized was it's hard to do all of those things and do them really well. You can keep them as tools in your arsenal and stuff like that. But I went to a conference in Orlando, Gary Harper. Do you know Sharper Business Solutions?
Yep.
Yeah. Man, it was incredible. I learned so much about myself. I learned so much about like other people, business, like what you need to do and how to really harness, because I have horrible ADHD, man. And I get, I tell my staff all the time, I'm like a dog chasing tires. And so I've got the people in place now that help to kind of harangue it in, like, hey, look, no, this, and I've even found myself now when my partner will be like, hey, we should, if we're going to really, because we focus on wholesaling right now. That's our main bread and butter. I'm pulling away from the last of my flips, from the last of our multifamily deals and stuff like that, and just focusing on wholesaling right now. The thing is, if you want to do something, if you want to be a flipper, be a flipper. There's private lenders out there. There's hard money that you can get. If you want to buy rentals, buy rentals. There's people out there who do that and do that very well. But if you want to do this, if you want to do something successfully, you have to have the systems and processes in place to be able to do that before you go and try to tackle something else. Because it's a different mindset for everything that you do. And it's, when that supply chain changes, that's when, you've got a different business model.
Yeah, man. I've been through it and at times still go through it, right? Like we do fix and flips. And then we also out of that, we do BRRRR method, right? Because we want to build our rental portfolio up. And then we had looked at doing multifamily. So we're like, man, like if we're gonna do these things, we've got to be systemized and organized in each of these facets before we can move forward. So I kind of pulled back the reins when I realized, because up until just recent, I've started hiring people, but I'm like, how the hell am I going to do all this by myself? Am I going to market to a single family? Am I going to manage the project? Am I going to do the transactional coordination and do the closings? Am I going to file for the refinance? Am I going to go market to multifamily? Like, pause.
Yeah.
Like I left my W-2 so I could have some more time with my wife and my kids. I've just given myself a glorified job that I just happen to love. This is
High-paying,
not,
hard-working job.
yeah. And I was like, yo, this is not the way, man. Like, we've got to, if we're going to do these things, we can put them on the bucket list, right? But
Yeah.
let's get organized, right? So right now, what we've done is we're systemizing our fix and flip / rentals, right? Because where we're good at is value add properties. Like I think we're acquiring our first turnkey property. It's a duplex. But outside of that, man, it is like just you'd walk in there like, yeah, I'm not touching this. Like that's the kind of properties we're buying, right?
Yeah.
But like you said, Scott, you got to be organized. And I love what you've been saying, man. I have ADHD. I'm all over the place. It's so beautiful to hear you say it because most people don't want to admit who they really are.
Yeah.
And it took me a while to admit exactly. I'm the same way, man. I get 1,000 ideas and then I look to my right and I look to my left and it's just me, man. So now I'm like, I got to get people to implement these damn ideas or they're just going to be ideas and turn into nothing. 100%. So I see that you have started doing that, right? You have brought on people to start implementing the ideas. Tell us a little bit about that, how you went through the Gary Harper journey or being in that class, I guess.
Yeah.
And how it helped you to kind of navigate to realizing who you are and where you are now.
100%. So we were trying to do 3 different things. So we were trying to do wholesale / flip, which we didn't even, we thought that we had this, we thought we had a pretty good structure, probably about a year ago. So we had wholesale / flip, we had a surplus funds business, and then we had multifamily focusing on.
What was the second business? What was the one in the middle?
Surplus funds.
Sun personal. I've heard of it. Yep. I've seen that as well. Yeah.
So back in October, I had, I had 3 flips that closed in 1 month. And I was just like, all right, we've got some time. Let's focus on the surplus funds. So I have a partner that we work with on this, and he locked up like 7 contracts in the first month. So it was, but we realized we had the cart before the horse because we didn't have an attorney to help us file those. We didn't, we didn't know the logistics of the time frame and everything like that. Thankfully, thank the Lord, now they're actually closing. We were telling people 2 and 3 months. And now it's finally closing here like 6 months later. So now we've got a better understanding of it, but we paused all of that so that we can focus on the wholesale side of things. But we realized, we needed to bring in an assistant in some capacity. So we used, I think it was Sphere Rocket. Yeah, Sphere Rocket. Got a VA through them. Man, he was a godsend. He has been just a huge asset to our business. Wow. We were thinking, we were going to have him, make cold calls in some capacity, and then obviously help with the infrastructure, like the organizational stuff like that. But I had him take the predictive index test, the assessment, and like he is perfect for integrating and getting systems and processes in place. And so for the last probably 2 months or so, that's all we've had him doing, is just focusing on helping us harangue everything in. Yeah. And so while we are at some point, I've realized I don't want to do the multifamily like I was thinking. That's the thing, man. It seems so attractive and so lucrative, but it's a completely different ball game. And so we're going to focus on, so we're just going to focus on what we know. But we realized we could use him best as organizational. So he's kind of like our COO. For the time being, helping getting our structures. He tracks metrics and stuff like that. He wears a couple of different hats right now, just until we get to a capacity with this where we need to bring somebody else on just to help with some of the lead sourcing. He doesn't do any of the lead gen. We've got somebody for lead gen, acquisitions, dispositions, and transactions. But he helps, get the lists and stuff ready for the text blasts and the cold calls and the emails and stuff like that. So honestly, it was just kind of stumbling through, man. And that's the thing. You can listen to all of the, all the wonderful podcasts that are out there, but the crucial thing is to take action on that information that you're getting, or else, your dreams will die between your ears.
Yeah, man, that. And here's where, at least what I believe or feel, where people get caught up. They get paralysis by analysis, which then turns into fear, right? They overthink everything. folks, if you're not willing to take the chance, because that's what it is, because if you know the result, then it's not a risk. It's not considered a chance.
Yeah.
You have to take the leap of faith. If you're not willing to, then just go sit down. Go get a W-2 job and go work for somebody else. But what Scott's doing, what I'm doing, what folks in this business are doing, they're taking a leap of faith. Look, if you really enjoy real estate and you're not comfortable with taking the risk, go work for a Scott. Learn. Understand how the business operates. Looking back at it, I mean, I'm grateful where I'm at, but if you were to put a gun to my head, I'd probably still make the same damn decision. But no, seriously, if you're nervous or afraid, go learn from somebody. Get your education and see how the business works. But
pay your dues,
exactly. But look, the beauty of this is not knowing the unknown, not knowing, but still going forward and having faith and belief that I'm going to come out okay on the other side. And
100%.
Law of attraction says you will if you keep pushing forward. You know, so I agree with you, man. I love how you really focused in on what you're good at. I really love how you're building systems in place. For me, being very hyperactive with thoughts, I hired an assistant, and what she has done is taken everything we do and systemized. So now I don't get asked these questions by our VAs like, what should we do? Here's the manual. This is what you do. And that has helped me be better at processing ideas and managing my business.
100%.
Like
it frees up the RAM up here.
Oh my God, so much. Like she's taking so much off my plate. Like if she were to leave right now, I'd be like, oh my God, I might have to shut down shop and come work for you for a little while, man. But no, and we're hiring a project manager coming in. So they're gonna handle the fix and flips that we do, so we can, rentals and stuff. Like I'm so excited. I don't think I've ever been so excited to pay somebody to come do something for me.
Yeah, dude.
Usually it's like
I'm trying to do that.
Yeah, man. So what does are you fully virtual? Do you have office space? I see that beautiful office in the background.
Yeah, no, this is just the background I have. I work from home. All of my team. So we've got our cold caller, our lead gen guy. He's in Colombia, but he's an expat. He was in the Navy, and he married a lady from down there, and so he's living down there. Excellent. He was another piece who was just kind of a godsend. And, all these pieces were kind of free floating out there. A while back when I had started to try to just kind of wholesale, willy-nilly, no real structure, anything like that in place. I'd run a text blast, and I had kind of like a mentee who was helping run those blasts also. And he'd field the calls and try to lock them up and then send them to buyers and stuff like that, which is kind of what I did for Adrian. With his carrot site, I started out just as dispositions, and then it morphed into, hey, I got this lead. Can you go out there and lock it up? And then it morphed into, hey, I got this lead. Can you call them and then go out there and then lock it up and then sell it? So, I've got a guy who he worked with me in the past getting dispositions and stuff like that handled. So he handles that now. And then a buddy of mine from college, we brought him in to help just with acquisitions. So, it's been a blessing. Just kind of, like I said, all those pieces were just kind of floating out there, and sitting and thinking about things. I was able to pull everybody in and kind of assimilate them into this, a nice little funnel.
Nice, man. Is everybody like salary based, commission based? Like, how do you structure? Like for me, I structured it where I made a commission base. So if deals that you work, like my assistant works on deals, my project manager, when they start, we build a threshold like, hey, this is the budget. If you come below this, you get a percentage of this. And on the back end, we're going to help you get a percentage as well. And we laid out based off what we're doing, their position to actually make more money commission based versus salary based.
Oh,
So like
100%.
how do you structure some of your stuff? Is it a mix? Like, what's your
It's a little bit of both. So our VA, obviously, we pay. He's
yeah.
hourly, and we're ramping him up. I fully intend to at some point, because he would love to come to the U.S. I would love to have him here.
Right.
Pay him a nice salary to help, because I envision him kind of growing with us. But right now, he's hourly. Our cold caller, we pay him a base salary plus a small percent of commission just to keep him hungry. And we're trying to get him to come on board. So we've got him for, I think, 4 hours a day right now, but we're trying to get him to come and work full time. So, and then acquisitions and dispositions, those two pieces, they're both commission based. Now I want to keep them hungry. We were fortunate because they both have jobs where they can do, anything. So they both work secondary jobs, but they work where pretty much from home. So they can do pretty much anything at any time that we need them to. So, and we do wholesale virtually. So we've got boots on the ground established and everything like that, so that we don't have any kind of, we don't have to have any kind of like physical presence ourselves, which is nice.
Nice, man. That's awesome, bro. Like, to see that fully built out and how you're maneuvering, right? It's great.
Yeah.
Someone who's looking to get their first deal, what should they do?
Network. That was the biggest game changer for me. And I remember when COVID hit, I had been successful for a while already when COVID had hit, but I wasn't broadcasting anything that I was really doing out there on Facebook, which is another, I used to get like, should I post this? Should I post that on Facebook? But that's another great marketing tool to, to broadcast what you're doing out there. It attracts, buyers, it attracts other wholesalers because they see that you're active. Yeah. But I would say to network. When COVID hit, I will never forget. I got a text from my mom. She said, so we have a grocery store chain here called Harris Teeter, and she sent me a text. And it was from a place of love. So, but at the time, I used it to fuel me. She said, Harris Teeter is hiring stalkers for the night shift, and I was like, if you ever seen Last Dance with Michael Jordan, he's like, I took that personally. Yeah. And I sat down, man, and my buyers list just kind of blew up from there. And I weaponized it. I turned it into, I said, okay, so I'm not going to just do my city. I'm going to go over here and start getting buyers for that city and buyers for that city. And so I started almost like a military campaign, just building a huge buyers list that I could then take and weaponize. And I was really good because by that point I had a little bit of street cred from, number one, being a realtor, but also, partnering with Adrian Nez and some of the bigger people who were doing some stuff out this way. So I was able to take that and weaponize it, and then, just kind of go from there. So networking, hands down, has been the biggest piece. You get private lenders, you'll get other,
you'll find, it's like you're that guy, right? You're the way you're, and correct me if I'm wrong, the way you're built out, right? It's like Scott's in the middle, and then there's people all around. There's somebody who's looking to sell a house. There's somebody who wants to buy a house. There's someone who doesn't have money, but they need creative financing. Yeah. And you're the guy in the middle that everything goes through to connect the rest of the pieces. And your networking has allowed you to, and correct me if I'm wrong, your networking has helped you build your buyers list. Unless you're doing some other, right? So networking, money, deals, that what you're doing, no one can compete with. Yeah. Like you can't, like, guys, just I'm just going to, like, Scott is a brand. Like I don't know how, as active as he is on Facebook and social media, but his networking is a brand. And that's what people don't realize. When you're that plugged in, people are like, yo, let me call Scott, man. He probably has a solution to this. That's what you want. Yeah. I guarantee you, like, if Scott turned off his marketing 100%, he'd still do deals. Yeah. I know you still do deals.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. I've pulled back from that, and I've tried to leverage some of that out, but you still, like, it still trickles. And I'll give you two quick instances. So December of 2020, we went down to Disney, and while I was down there, I got 2 phone calls. The first one was from a buddy of mine, Tyler. He's a wholesaler up in kind of a more rural area, but he had a deal in a market. He said, "Hey Scott, what's going on, man?" I said, "Hey Tyler, what's up, buddy? How you doing?" And he was like, "Man, I was good till about 20 minutes ago." And I was like, "Why? What's up?" So he tells me he's got this deal that the buyer just backed out on. This is Thursday afternoon. The closing is set for Monday. And so he says, do you think you might have somebody who'd be interested in it? So I made a couple of phone calls. We got it locked up that next day on that Friday, and it closed on that Monday. Made a quick $5,500 just from connecting those 2 dots. And that same month, I had 2 friends who he's a We Buy Ugly Houses guy, the home investors.
Yeah.
The other one is one of my private lenders, and he was looking for some deals. And I had this one, and the home investors guy was like, "Well, if I could sell it for this, I'd give you $5,000." So I called this guy, and he goes out there, and 15 minutes later, we had it locked up. It closed 3 days later. Made another quick, just $5,000. Turns out they actually knew one another, but they didn't even think to call one another or try to network and get deals. So you can get paid connecting dots with people who, they've known each other in the past or wouldn't even think to have called one another for deals.
Here's what I would sum up as what you're doing. Problem solver.
100%.
And everybody loves a great problem solver in their network, because that person. So correct me if I'm wrong. You made $10,500 while on vacation in Disney, while not doing any marketing, by inbound calls because of your networking.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, that probably paid your trip, right? I mean, maybe you.
Well, my mom paid for that trip, but that was
whatever, man.
Spending money.
You made $10,500 while on vacation.
Yeah,
folks, the importance of opening your mouth, right? Or getting on social media and posting. That's the importance. Like, your networking, Scott's essentially building his brand up. Right now, look, here's what comes out of this. Scott, I got a guy here. What's going on? You want to be that person so that people call you. Your phone blows up, man. Right?
Well, can I tell you what I did with that money?
Absolutely.
So I got a call from a buddy of mine that same month in that December. And he said he had posted on Facebook. He was looking for, I think, $10,000. And so I was like, and he texted me, he said, "Hey, do you know anybody who would lend $10,000? And so I called him, and he explained the situation. He had found a small trailer park that the guy was willing to sell or finance for $75,000. And he only wanted $10,000 of that down, and he would sell or finance it for, I think, like 4 or 5 years, something. So I said, "Well, look, how about this? I will partner up with you on that," because I had a little bit of experience working with some trailer parks.
Okay.
I said, "I will partner up with you on that. I'll bring the cash. We'll manage it. We'll get the rents and everything like that. And, we'll partner up on this deal. We'll split the proceeds and everything." So I brought the 10,000 for that deal. So we had a note of 65,000.
Okay.
There were, I want to say, 4 tenants, like in each of the different trailers. So what we did was, one of them, pretty quickly, she moved out. I don't know. Okay. I think she thought maybe we were going to kick them out or whatever, but she moved out almost instantly. She moved out, I think, that first month. So we got that. We didn't really even do much to that one. I think we just fixed like a water knob that had come off, something like that, and put a new stove in, and we got a new tenant in there. They were paying, I want to say, $700. No. They were paying $600, and we put somebody in for $900.
Wow.
And then there was another tenant. She was bad news, and so we kicked her out and put somebody else in for $900. So it's in a sense, essentially what we did was we increased the rents, and we turned around and sold that thing. So we had a note for $65,000. We sold it for $135,000. Wow. So take that, make the private, make the seller financing our private lender. So I took that $10,000, and then, we made a quick 60. So I turned that 10 into a, $30,000 return on that. Plus we got the rents and everything like that for several months. It was cash flow in between.
Wow, man, that's phenomenal, bro. Like networking, gaining the knowledge and the skill sets to be able to maneuver and solve
Yeah.
problems. Like that's, like I had a conversation earlier. How many conversations are you having? Right? Conversations, leads, deals.
Yeah.
Right? If you're not talking, you ain't getting any leads, man.
Yeah.
And if you ain't talking with leads, you ain't getting any deals done.
100%.
So that you got to network, man. Okay. You're networking. I love that space, man. That's something that took me a while to better understand, right? I always went about real estate the traditional way, right? Hey,
Yeah.
here's a list, here's this. I love what you've done. If I could go back and do it, I would do it the way you did, man. Just network with people, have a conversation. You mentioned earlier you had $400 in your bank account. You were like, man, I remember those nights. I remember when I quit my W-2, sitting in front of this computer screen, tears coming down my eyes. Was this the right decision I made? Right. And what I learned out of that is I learned to open my mouth. If I don't ask for help, if I don't ask, then I won't receive. And
100%.
as I started asking, it got me around other people, helped me find deals, helped me find the money to get the deals done, right? And that networking has changed what things look like now, man. So no, that's phenomenal, bro. How now? So we've talked about education, we've talked about the decisions, right? The empowerment.
Yeah.
How has it changed your life, right? You went from $400 in your bank account to
Yeah.
that $3,000 deal to then doing six figures. But how has it changed your life, man? Whether it's family, health, other people that you've been able to impact, community. Talk to us a little bit about that.
100%. So we were renting a house at the time, and it was a place where I was kind of embarrassed for people to come to. And we had a roof over our head, and part of that was internally, like, me maybe coming from a place of ungratefulness. I had a roof over my head, and thank the Lord, I never went without. We always had all of our needs met. And, I know the Lord has blessed every step of the way.
Amen.
But we've got our own house right now. I've got 3 rental properties that we own free and clear. And, we've got, flips that we're pulling out of, and just, like I said, I had this peace when all of that was going through that I would never, when it finally broke, it was like a dam breaking. And I remember feeling like this peace, like almost like God was saying, you'll never have to worry about money again.
Yeah.
And ever since then, I've worried, but that's only been because, if my bank account would ever dip back below 6 figures, that's when I feel like that's, if it ever does, that's when you get that, like, you know what I mean? But you like,
but you're still okay.
Yeah. It's a testament to like how far you've actually come. Like when you realize when it does dip that low, like, what am I worried about? Like I've been where I've had $400 before, and, I never was without then. And so I like to reassure myself. And I'll tell you this. So my wife is from Ukraine. And so her family, she's been here for 8 years now. Her family was in Kiev, where all of the, everything's been going on for the past couple of months. So they evacuated, except for her older cousin. He's had to stay behind, and so her grandma, her aunt, and her younger cousin fled into Poland. And we've been blessed because they got an Airbnb for free for the past basically month. So they've been able to stay there for free. But we're planning to get them here. And my wife has been like looking and praying for a house for them, somewhere where we could, because, we could house them in our house, but it'd be tight, it'd be uncomfortable. And so, we've just been looking and praying. Well, I've been in our neighborhood, and this is my wife's dream house. This is her dream neighborhood. She never wants to leave. Nothing ever comes available on this little strip. So I've been driving by this neighborhood for, well over a year now.
Right.
And I see this house, and I kid you not, if I go in our backyard, I can look catty corner over the fence, and it's right over there. And every time I've driven by, I've had this feeling like you need to touch base with them. you need to, you need to dig into it. So I had my partner, I got her information. I had my partner call her because I didn't want to I don't know what I was thinking at the time, but I had him call her. Houses here, that house would probably go on the market fixed up for probably 325. We got it under contract at 120. So having like the real estate knowledge, and we're gonna, it needs some TLC. I just was walking it right before our meeting, but I was walking it, and he was like, "Man, this has been beautifully maintained," and she hasn't lived in there in 6 years. There've been squatters that came through. It's gonna need some work. It's probably gonna need 30,000 at work, but it's hands down a deal. But I'm going to be able to provide housing for my wife's family when they come over here from that. So it's been, not only my family, but to be able to bless her family and to help other people, because it's hard to find properties right now. And when you have people who are looking for something, you can't find rentals, you can't find things to purchase. We have an ability to, to help them with the knowledge that we have, which I think has been huge. We have a lot of power in real estate.
Absolutely, man. That first and foremost, I'm praying for your family, your wife's family. I hope everything goes well. I know it's a very tough and nerve-wracking situation of what's going on. I've been following along, and man, I just, it's a shame. It's a shame what's going on over there and how people's lives are being disrupted and thrown into chaos, man. So, my deepest prayers go out to you and your family.
I appreciate it, brother. Thank you.
But with that, look at what real estate has allowed you to do, right? Positioned you, right, to do. And I'm pretty sure had you taken that overnight job that your mom sent you, right? I don't think you'd be in position to help your family the way you are now. And correct me if I'm wrong, it sounds like you're faithful in Christ.
100%. Yes, sir.
I could tell. And I am too, very much. And, one of the core concepts of the Bible is give and you shall receive. 100%. So many, and I'm not going to get too preachy, but so many people focus on receiving, then giving. But the reason why it's written, give and you shall receive, is because it requires something of us, faith.
100%.
It requires faith to say, even when I don't have, I'm going to give because I have faith that I will be taken care of, right? Bible says that I have plans to prosper you and not to harm you. And I'm so proud of what you've been able to accomplish and the fact that you're going to be able to be a big blessing in your family's life. But it's only been possible because you accepted the unknown and said, I'm still going to go forward.
100%.
Man, and that's, folks, that's the enrichment, right? You want everybody wants the enrichment part, but they don't want to put the work in. You got to put the work in to be able to do what Scott's been doing, how he's been able to position his life, take vacations and still make money, take care of his family who's in a war right now, and be able to provide shelter and help them, man. Phenomenal job and great work, bro.
God will move mountains, but you better bring a shovel.
That's what I always, bro. That's the motto I go by. You gotta move forward, bro. Scott, listen, I thank you so much for being on. How can people get a hold of you, man?
I network on Facebook primarily.
Okay.
I get people shooting me messages all the time asking about, what, how would you do this? And I'm bad about responding pretty quickly sometimes, but I try to be more active on there. But I'm pretty active on Facebook. That's how I like people to touch base, and then we can, swap numbers and stuff like that. But Facebook, man, it's a powerful networking tool that a lot of people don't really, fully utilize.
I agree with you, man. Scott, listen, I really, really appreciate you being on, and we're going to have to connect face to face and have a little chat and chew, man. So I love that. Thank you so much for being on, man.
Yes, sir. Good talking with you.
Have a blessed day.
You too, brother.
Take care.